Hey guys, it's me, Delicious Delights. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a review on the newest release from the House of Chanel. This is called Chanel 1957. So as you probably already know, this is a fragrance that's part of the Les Exclusifs de Chanel. The bottle looks identical to the other ones in this line. This is an eau de parfum concentration. A lot of their fragrances, or all of their fragrances from this line were at once eau de toilettes, but now they switched over to being EDPs. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't really know the history on that, but as far as I know, they're all now eau de parfum concentrations. So this was just released. Well, kind of. It's been over a month. In my country, it's been out since the 1st of February 2019. I'm not sure about the release date in any other countries, but that's when it was released here. It's a very, very expensive perfume. If I'm not mistaken, like the girl told me how much it was, the essay. The big bottle was 330 ish, like I can't remember, you guys. There's probably some information somewhere about that. And then the smaller bottle, the 75 ml, was 175, I believe. So these are really pricey perfumes. So I'm happy I was able to obtain a sample, and I just sprayed it on my skin. Actually, I'm going to give it another top up to give you guys the top notes, my thoughts on the top notes. Okay. So the first thing I want to say about this fragrance is that testing this particular fragrance, actually testing all fragrances, smell very different from when you do it on paper, spray it on paper, test it on paper versus spraying on your skin. So when I tested this first at the Chanel counter at the department store, I sprayed it on a card. And to me, the opening smelled very citrusy. It was like a huge citrus blast. It was a fresh, clean, light, and bright fragrance. And it really reminded me of the fragrances from the Les Eaux collection. You know, the Paris, the Deauville, and the Biarritz. You know, that kind of feeling. On paper, that's what 1957 reminded me of. But after testing it on the skin, so testing it on paper, maybe that can be similar to how it might smell if you spray it on your clothing. I haven't tested it on my clothing, but maybe it's comparable. But anyways, let's go on to how it smells on my skin is completely different. And I know that a lot of you guys know this already, that a lot of fragrances smell different on paper versus skin. Versus clothing versus different parts of the body, and there's like a whole thing, a video on that I can make or discuss sometime. But anyways, on my skin, it wasn't very bright and fresh and light. On my skin, it felt darker. There's still a citrus smell on my skin, but it's being overshadowed by a darker blanket of other things. So the darker elements in here, there's definitely some spice that I smell in here. There's definitely an earthiness along with the citrus. And the citrus in here specifically, what I smell is like a lime or a bergamot smell. And then if you can imagine that darker citrus being overshadowed by heavier notes such as musk or iris or other floral notes. On my skin, in other words, on my skin, it feels like a very, very faint spiced leather in the opening, along with this heavy, darker citrus, along with a powdery musk. So just the opening of this fragrance, I can already tell that, you know, upon first sniff, like say if you're just walking by and you spray it on a card and then you smell it and you're like, oh, that's just a whatever citrusy light thing. They've done it before, been there, done that. But if you after testing this, I realized that this fragrance is a lot more complicated than the Citrusy Fresh Blast fragrances that I smell, for example, in the Les Eaux collection. So, the spice in here, according to Fragrantica, is from the pink pepper and coriander. So I just thought I would mention that. All right, what else here? So, I'm losing my train of thought. The mid and the dry down, let's get into that. So, in the mid, this is where I smell the signature Chanel aldehyde smell coming through on my skin. And it's hard to explain what this Chanel aldehyde smell is. I think the best way you can, I guess, recognize this smell is to basically smell as many Chanel perfumes as you can. After a while, you will sense this particular note, this particular accord, Chanel aldehydes, that you can pick out so easily once you've smelled a lot of Chanel fragrances. I'm pretty sure you guys know, a lot of you guys know what that smells like. But to me, the signature Chanel aldehyde smell, to me, it smells like it's soapy, it's clean, it has a fresh, greenish, sharp kind of feel to it. It's very, very crisp. Sometimes it smells a little bit sour, maybe a touch of citrus in there and a touch of florals. So with the florals, I can't decipher which florals they are, but I know that's a very broad or a general or a vague description of what Chanel aldehydes are. But if I were just to say it very in a simple way as I can, it's mostly a soapy, soury kind of smell. So the Chanel aldehyde smell is what I smell after the opening. So after I recognize that familiar Chanel aldehyde smell that a lot of people either love or hate, please let me know in the comments whether you love or hate this aldehydic smell. I do smell another familiar note or accord that I smell in a lot of perfumes from Chanel, and this is the sweetness in this perfume. So the sweetness in here reminds me of the dry down of Coco Mademoiselle. So a lot of you guys know all about that perfume. So this sweetness that I smell smells like a clean vanilla. It's almost sparkling, and it kind of uplifts everything in this. It uplifts all of the notes in this fragrance, making it like a heavy, sparkling kind of fragrance. There's honey in the notes in here, and that's what adds weight to the sweetness in here. So we have the Chanel aldehyde smell, we have the familiar Chanel sweetness that I tried to explain as best as I can. So here, number 3, apart from those two things, the third thing that I notice in the mid and the dry down of this perfume is the spices. So according to Fragrantica, the spices are pink pepper and coriander. To me, I smell those spices even more so in the dry down. So the spices really take over on my skin. And it almost feels like these spices have been like heavily peppered on top of all this whole concoction of notes. And it's to the point where it feels like when I smell it, it makes my throat a little bit dry and scratchy. Which is kind of unusual, but very, very interesting nonetheless. So that's the next thing I notice in the dry down. And the last thing that I notice in the dry down of this perfume is that while all of this stuff is happening, and it's a lot, while all of that is happening, I do also smell white florals in this perfume. in the background. It's not the biggest thing, it's not the most noticeable thing, but the white florals are like shining in the background, which, like, if I can try to think of an example, like say you have the perfume sitting right here, like way back on my tray of perfumes, there are a big bouquet of white florals, and it's like shining, like glowing, like as if there's like a halo in it. And I know that sounds kind of wishy-washy, but it really just makes me feel that. Like I smell all of this stuff going on, but in the background, there's this floral bouquet that's just like illuminating some light. And that's what I feel like it feels. That's how I feel. That's how it feels on my skin. There's this shining floral thing in the back that's kind of just making the whole room brighter amidst all of this other stuff that's going on. So I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a weird analogy, I know, but that's what I was thinking. Maybe other people will think otherwise, but so yeah, there's, just to recap, the dry down, there's the Chanel Aldehydes, there's the familiar sweetness from Chanel perfumes that I smell in here, there's this beautiful spicy, peppery kind of thing that's dry to me and makes my throat dry, and then all the while we have this white floral shining in the background. It's a lot, and even on top of that, the overall feel of this perfume is one that gives off this feeling of a classy vintage kind of thing. So vintage class is what this perfume resembles to me. And if you're into the vintage perfumes, if you're into the smells, you know, like if you're a Chanel fan, you'd probably appreciate this fragrance a lot. In my personal opinion, I think this fragrance is nice. It's definitely not a blind buy. I for one already struggle with the House of Chanel in general. I do appreciate their fragrances and what they do, even though it's not my taste. But for me personally, although I think this is a very nice, elegant, complicated, complex, sophisticated scent, I think it's too expensive for what it is. I wouldn't spend the money on this. It's very, very expensive. Like, it's just way too much. Fragrances, I know it's a luxury thing, but I just, for some things, I just can't spend that kind of money on, you know, unless I really, really love something, then I will. But for this one, I would skip it. I do recognize that this perfume is definitely a work of art. I did feel, as I was testing this, I did feel like I was like peeling back the layers of this perfume and discovering something new every single time, which was really, really fun and interesting. And that's what I love about perfumery. You know, just trying to understand the complexities of perfumery and how it wears on your skin and in different situations and blah 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 blah. But I don't think I would wear this. It's not something that I would, even if I got it for free, I don't think I would wear this because it's just not me, not my personality. And in a nutshell, it's kind of like, okay, I tested it, it was fun, but I'm like, meh, you know? And I know I'm gonna get in trouble from a lot of you Chanel lovers out there. Like, how dare you say that about my perfume, about this perfume house, whatever. But that's just me. It just does not, it doesn't suit me. It might suit a lot of you out there. This is one of the most popular houses, if not the most popular house of perfumery. So I know that there's going to be a lot of you who will appreciate this fragrance and love it and blah blah blah, but for me it's like, yeah, it was fun to test. I appreciate this, I get it, but for me it's too expensive, and I'm already looking forward to trying the next perfume of testing whatever. So just my personal opinion. If you guys want to share your personal opinions about this perfume, do share it down there in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this perfume. Yeah, for me, a pass. And that's all I'm gonna say about this perfume. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I will be back with more videos soon, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. See you guys. Bye-bye.